Question number 5. Why did Christians forge Tacitus? This is a question that presupposes its own conclusion, so I'll give reasons to think this passage in Tacitus is not a forgery. Instead of arguing against this question's presupposition, a case will be made against it.
You did a good job spotting the logical fallacy. This is indeed a loaded question as written, and I didn't mean to write it as a loaded question. It does presume that Christ is being forged into Tacitus' writings by Christians. So why is that happening? Well, that also assumes that we can know motive, which is another problem. I guess the question should have been, did Christians forge Christ into Tacitus? Now, I do note that you say forge Tacitus as if it's the whole thing. And no, I'm not trying to ask if they forged the entire thing, just forged Christ into part of it.
But not all the relief that could come from man, not all the bounties that the prince could bestow.
Here, JMD just reads out the passage in full, and I'm skipping that.
This is a genuine passage, which is found in all copies of the Annals. So this is no evidence of forgery from Christians. Here are 3 reasons to believe that Tacitus is a reliable source for this passage. Number 1. Tacitus was known for anti-Christian writings, so this passage reflects negativity towards the Christians. Number 2. Tacitus was careful with data and was a good historian. He would not just take the Christian's word, since he would check sources and is reporting Roman history. Even with Pliny the Younger, he would still check his sources. Number 3. In books 11 through 16 of the Annals, Tacitus has more sources and evidence for his historical evaluation, more than the previous ones. The passage of Jesus is in book 15.
Is this a forgery? I don't know. I don't think it is, because there's no evidence that it is. There's nothing outlandish about this particular passage. Honestly, at the time that I asked this question, I have no idea what the bleep I was thinking back then. Clearly, I didn't word it well, and it wasn't very well thought out. And I really don't honestly care about whatever the answer might be today. It being a forgery would just be one more forgery that had been done and wouldn't surprise me. It not being a forgery doesn't really help the case for a risen Jesus at all. At best, you could try to extrapolate that there's a lot of Christians in his time and that Jesus' death actually occurred, and that would be it. But given that Tacitus is late to the party, so to speak, he's only writing down information that has already been in the zeitgeist, information that's already been established. Jesus' death and by crucifixion has already had time to be established as historical. Whether the event actually happened or not is another question. We don't know at all. There's no way to know that. And you say, well, but he wrote about it. Well, yeah, but he wrote about it based upon what? The thing is, Tacitus doesn't reveal his source of information. So, what is he drawing from? And we don't know the answer to that because he doesn't cite sources. So that's a possible problem. I mean, if he's just writing about something that he heard about, I mean, is he really doing research? I mean, JMD says, oh yeah, he's doing his research really well. Well, how do we know that? Like, why didn't he cite his sources? That seems like spotty research to me, but yeah, that's modern day sensibility. Back then, people probably just wrote whatever and was like, yeah, who cares, you know. At the end of the day, though, JMD does answer this question. He says, no, it's not a forgery, and I agree, it's probably not a forgery. I said probably, though, because people still debate this, so there's room for a possibility that it could be a forgery. The counter to that is, well, it paints Christians in a bad light, and I find that a very bad argument. Yeah, if I was going to write in a forgery, I would paint the Christians in a bad light if the author that I am using would have painted them in a bad light. So I would make it look genuine. Duh. Anyways, I don't think it's a forgery anymore, if I ever did, and it not being a forgery doesn't really matter to me that much. But hey, JMD at least gave an answer this time. No, it's not a forgery. More than likely. He says just straight out it's not, but I put in that little bit of, well, question mark, because, I'm a skeptic.